In the peaceful town of Clarkson, where life often appears perfect, a deadly secret lurked behind closed doors. A secret so dark, it would shatter a family to its core. What began as a twisted bond of trust ended in tragedy. Clarkson was a place where everyone knew everyone. A community bound by shared stories, neighbourly kindness, and the comforting embrace of small-town life. At its heart was Toby Williams, a 27-year-old man with an infectious laugh and an optimism that lit up any room. His unwavering positivity and willingness to lend a hand made him the cornerstone of their close-knit group. Toby's lovely wife, Shelley, often teased him that his sunny disposition perfectly suited his job as a florist. Unknowingly, she had hit the nail on the head. Her admiration was his driving force. Toby wanted nothing more than to make her proud, to be the man she deserved. With her strong support, he felt free to be himself, without fear or doubt. But life, as it often does, had other plans. The tragic loss of his wife to breast cancer brought huge sorrow and despair into Toby's world. The man whose spirit was once radiant was now dimmed by grief, moulding him into a shell of his former self. The absence of children was a wound that never truly healed. Toby had dreamed of a family, of raising a little one with the woman he loved. That dream was now shattered, leaving a void that nothing could fill. Despite his youth, the thought of remarriage was a foreign concept. It felt like a betrayal to his late wife, a dishonouring of their love. Then came Melissa. Her arrival in Clarkson was unexpected, and her presence stirred a mix of emotions within the community. While some welcomed her with open arms, others were less accepting. A town that prided itself on its close-knit nature now found itself divided by gossip and speculation because she was a divorced, single mother. Toby, caught in the crossfire, was puzzled by the cruelty. He had seen something in Melissa that others seemed blind to, a strength and resilience that captivated him. But the relentless scrutiny of the town was a constant presence, a shadow over their newfound happiness. Melissa was a special kind of person. She was smart, caring, and loved animals very much. Her job as a vet was demanding, but she always made time for Toby. After knowing each other for 3 months, she started telling Toby about her deepest, saddest secrets. This surprised her because she's usually careful about who she trusts. But with Toby, she just opened up. Over dinner one night, she told him about her bad marriage. Her husband broke her trust, and she kept it a secret from everyone, even her own daughter. When she told her mum instead of helping, she said all men were bad, and Melissa should just deal with it. But Melissa knew that wasn't true. It was no longer a secret that she had a teenage daughter named Flora. It was a funny coincidence that Toby owned a flower shop. They shared a laugh about it. Now Flora was a mystery. A tomboy, she preferred baggy clothes to dresses. Unlike her mum, she rarely smiled. People even teased her about her name, saying it was bad luck for someone who didn't seem like a flower. So, with a new family dynamic in place, Melissa and Toby began to build a life together. Melissa and Toby decided on a quiet wedding. They both knew what marriage was like, and a big fuss didn't seem right. Over time, Flora warmed up to Toby. He wanted to be the cool stepdad, so he let her do things she normally couldn't. They spent time together, trying to connect, but there was a distance. Flora seemed to hide something, often looking away when Toby got too close. He tried to reassure her, but she preferred to keep her guard up. But just as Toby and Melissa began to navigate their newfound happiness, the reality of their busy lives started to reveal deeper strains. Melissa, a rising star in the veterinary world, found herself increasingly drawn to conferences and seminars across the country. While Toby was undeniably proud of her achievements, her frequent absences strained their relationship. Their once vibrant connection started to feel like a distant memory. As the months passed, the house, once filled with laughter and shared dreams, transformed into a solitary space for Toby. He found himself counting down the days until Melissa's return, only to discover that these reunions were often brief and overshadowed by the weight of her professional commitments. His His attempts to bridge the growing gap between them were met with a sense of detachment. Desperate to reignite the passion in their relationship, Toby planned a surprise getaway to the beach, a place that had always held a special significance for Melissa. He hoped that the serene ambience of the ocean would provide the perfect backdrop for a heartfelt conversation. As they strolled along the shoreline, the gentle rhythm of the waves calmed their troubled minds. With a vulnerability he had rarely displayed, Toby expressed the loneliness that had crept into his heart. The absence of his wife's companionship had left a void that seemed impossible to fill. He longed for a partnership that extended beyond mere cohabitation, a connection rooted in emotional intimacy and shared experiences. Melissa, caught off guard by the depth of his pain, was overcome with remorse. The pursuit of professional excellence had inadvertently become a formidable barrier to their happiness. She confessed that the demands of her career had blocked out the importance of nurturing their relationship. The realization of the harm she had inflicted upon their love was a bitter pill to swallow. The weight of her actions extended beyond her relationship with Toby. She acknowledged the impact of her absence on Flora, who was dealing with the complexities of adulthood and the challenges of finding her place in the world. The distance between mother and daughter was a wound that needed healing. A strong sense of guilt washed over Melissa as she recognized the urgent need to prioritize her family and make substantial changes in her life. But despite this heartfelt conversation and Melissa's promises, old habits proved hard to break, and the situation took an unexpected turn. Melissa's good behavior only lasted a week before she was back to her old ways. Toby was confused and tried everything he could think of to fix things, but it only got worse. She started disappearing for whole weeks at a time. It was a shock to Toby, but Flora seemed used to it. One day, Flora surprised Toby by coming to his shop. They spent some quiet time together. Flora could tell something was bothering Toby, and she knew exactly what it was. She broke the silence and asked him what was wrong. He didn't want to worry her about his problems with Melissa, but Flora insisted she knew what was going on. She told Toby that Melissa had always been like this, even when she was a kid. It had its upsides, like being able to do whatever she wanted, but Flora missed having a steady mum around. Flora opened up about how tough things were for her without Melissa there. Toby couldn't imagine growing up without a family around him. Flora then dropped a bombshell. She said Toby deserved someone better, someone who wouldn't disappear and leave him to raise her. She was worried about what would happen if she needed him and Melissa wasn't there. Then, out of the blue, Flora said she hated her mum. It was clear she'd been holding this in for a long time. Toby was stunned and didn't know what to say. Toby felt more and more helpless as he watched Flora talk about going through adulthood without a stable maternal figure. But little did he know that their shared struggles would soon bring about a connection that he never imagined could happen. The dynamic between Toby and Flora evolved unexpectedly. Their relationship transformed into an unlikely closeness, with Flora becoming a frequent visitor to the flower shop after school. She even admitted that spending time with Toby wasn't as bad as she'd imagined. Toby, in turn, reveled in his role as the cool, unconventional stepdad. Their bond deepened as they shared laughter, stories, and the occasional shared meal. A seemingly gentle afternoon took an unexpected turn. After a particularly busy day at the shop, Toby decided to rest on the couch. Flora, sensing his exhaustion, suggested he take a nap. As he drifted off to sleep, she leaned in and kissed him softly on the cheek. The sensation was electric, jolting him awake. The kiss was short-lived, yet its effect was deep. A surge of conflicting emotions swept over him. He was both thrilled and horrified by his reaction. The forbidden nature of the moment intensified his attraction to Flora, while at the same time filling him with a deep sense of guilt and confusion. The incident left Toby struggling with his feelings. Every casual touch, every shared glance sent his heart racing. He was consumed by a turmoil of emotions, unable to reconcile his paternal affection with the growing attraction he felt for Flora. Desperate for guidance, he turned to his friend Marcus. With a mix of embarrassment and desperation, Toby confessed his feelings, detailing the kiss and the overwhelming emotions it caused. To his surprise, Marcus's reaction was far from judgmental. Instead, he offered a perspective that Toby hadn't considered. Marcus reminded Toby that Flora was not his biological daughter and that the boundaries were different. He suggested that Toby explore his feelings, cautioning him to proceed with care and consideration. Marcus's words were stuck in Toby's mind, a fatal temptation that threatened to ruin him. The boundaries he had carefully put in place began to crumble under the weight of his growing feelings for Flora. Toby became a prisoner of his own desires. Despite the peaceful slumber of his wife Melissa, his mind was unstable. Flora's image was a powerful, irresistible draw to him. Their previous encounter had ignited a flame within him, a hunger that consumed his thoughts. Driven by an insatiable longing, he slipped from the edges of their shared bed. The house was deathly quiet, a silent accomplice to his nighttime adventure. Flora's room was a soft, glowing light in the darkness. Hesitation fought with desire as he approached her door. With a creak, it swung open, revealing Flora wide awake, her eyes holding a mix of surprise and anticipation. It was as if she'd been expecting his arrival. Their conversation was intense and filled with unspoken feelings. Flora's vulnerability was way different from the composed facade she presented to the world. She painted a picture of loneliness, of feeling unseen, a haunting emptiness that echoed through her life. Toby found himself drawn into her world, offering solace amidst the troubles. Their connection deepened, ending in a passionate embrace. The intensity of the moment was both thrilling and terrifying. The intoxicating pull of desire was a powerful force, but the realization of his betrayal brought him crashing back to reality. Melissa's room was just a few steps away. Flora, however, seemed oblivious to the moral complexities of their situation. A mix of emotions, including a rebellious spirit and a genuine connection with Toby, fueled her desire to pursue their relationship. Their secret affair was a dangerous game, a high-stakes gamble with uncertain consequences. Meanwhile, Melissa remained happily unaware of the troubles growing beneath the surface of her seemingly perfect life. As she observed the growing closeness between Toby and Flora, a complex range of emotions washed over her. There was a pang of jealousy, a sharp reminder of the intimacy she craved with her husband. Yet there was also a sense of pride as she witnessed Flora's growth and independence. A shared meal was a far cry from the emotional turmoil within the house. As Flora, under Toby's watchful guidance, prepared a meal, Melissa found herself caught in a rush of conflicting emotions. The ease with which Toby and Flora interacted was a disturbing reminder of the connection she longed for with her husband. The aroma of the food filled the air, a tempting scent that seemed to amplify her feelings of longing and inadequacy. As the day went on, Melissa got lost in her own thoughts. The image of Toby and Flora, their laughter echoing through the house, was a haunting presence. She was consumed by a forbidden desire, a dangerous pull that threatened to consume her. But she knew this path was dangerous, a betrayal of her marriage vows. With a heavy heart, she forced herself to focus on the present, determined to suppress the chaotic emotions raging within her. A month had slipped by, filled with secret meetings and stolen time for Flora and Toby. Melissa's frequent absences provided a convenient cover for their growing affair. Flora was intoxicated by the thrill of their forbidden love, her world painted in hues of euphoria. Toby, too, was caught in the intoxicating spell, feeling a sense of rejuvenation he hadn't experienced in years. Their secret rendezvous were filled with a heady mix of passion and fear. They explored hidden corners of their city, creating a shared universe of memories. Despite the exciting rush, a nagging doubt crept into Flora's mind. She knew their relationship was built on shaky ground, but the fear of losing Toby drove her forward. Toby, while equally captivated, was troubled by a growing sense of unease. The thrill of the forbidden was tempered by the realization that their situation was far from ideal. He loved Flora, but the thought of hurting Melissa was a constant torment. The question of their future loomed large, a dark cloud on the horizon of their perfect world. One afternoon, as they shared an intimate moment, Toby felt compelled to address the elephant in the room. Their carefree happiness wasn't enough anymore. He needed to discuss their path forward. Flora, sensing the gravity of the moment, felt a cold dread creep into her heart. She knew this conversation could be a turning point, potentially leading to the end of their secret world. When Toby finally mentioned the subject, Flora's world seemed to tilt on its axis. The fear of losing Toby consumed her, driving her to make a desperate plea. In a moment of desperation, she suggested the unthinkable: divorce. It was a gamble, a Hail Mary pass to preserve their relationship. Toby was shocked by the magnitude of Flora's suggestion. While he loved her deeply, the idea of destroying his marriage was a bridge too far. The guilt of hurting Melissa was a heavy burden, a constant reminder of their wrong choices. The couple was at a crossroads, and their dream world was falling apart. As they sat in stunned silence, the weight of their decision pressed down on them. The love they shared was undeniable, but the path forward was covered in uncertainty. Their secret world, once a safe place, was now a stormy mess that could destroy them both. But little did they know, their carefully constructed world was about to be permanently altered. The door swung open, and Melissa stepped inside. She closed the door behind her with a quiet click, gently placing her bag on the couch. Standing there, motionless, it was clear she had taken everything in. Her voice, when it finally came, was filled with disbelief. She turned to Toby, her eyes searching his face. "Is this all true?" she asked, as if questioning the very fabric of reality. Toby remained silent, but Flora, ever the truth-teller, began to unfold their story. From the beginning of their initial attraction to the shared adventures, the tender moments, and the intimate details of their relationship, Flora painted a vivid picture. The words hung heavy in the air, a silent explosion that would shatter their lives forever. What began as a silent betrayal would soon escalate into a tragedy of epic proportions. Flora was a silent observer as her mother's face twisted in agony. Yet, she felt no pity. Meanwhile, Melissa watched in anguish as Toby shielded Flora with his body. It was a strange scene. She was the one in pain, but he was the one acting protective. The truth was a bitter pill. They were having an affair. Melissa began arriving home from work earlier, hoping to catch glimpses of their secret world. One afternoon, silence greeted her return. Checking Flora's room yielded no results, but an open door suggested someone was home. A horrifying scene unfolded. There, in her own bedroom, she found her husband and daughter entwined, naked and asleep. A wave of nausea washed over her, and she retreated from her home, overwhelmed by denial and disbelief. Desperately, Melissa clung to the hope it was a drunken mistake, a fleeting lapse in judgment. But the truth bothered her deeply, a constant ache beneath the surface. Confrontation felt like scaling a sheer cliff face, impossible and terrifying. Then, the inevitable happened. Walking in on them again, Toby's protectiveness towards Flora and her daughter's defiance shattered the last grip of control. A primal urge to discuss, to understand why her child would inflict such pain, was consumed by overwhelming guilt. Had she driven a wedge between them? Toby, ever the pillar of support, had always been there. A promise burned in her soul to never inflict the same hurt they'd caused her. Yet, confronted with such betrayal, her reason crumbled. In a moment of horrifying clarity, she reached for a weapon and shot Toby. As Toby crumpled lifelessly, Flora's scream pierced the air, but Melissa's twisted desire wasn't for revenge. It was a gruesome reflection of her own pain. She wanted her daughter to understand the same loneliness she felt, the betrayal of someone who was meant to love you. Tragically, Flora understood that pain all too well. Tears streamed down both their faces as Flora approached her mother, took the gun, and whispered a chilling choice. She preferred death to a life without her father. Melissa's world shattered as she watched her daughter take her own life. Overwhelmed by guilt and horror, she confessed to the police, unable to bear the weight of her actions. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Don't forget to turn on notifications to stay updated with our latest content.